Thanks so much. As you mentioned, please jump in to the chat with any questions, thoughts, feedback as we go through. I think everyone will see there's a real value given the platform's functionalities, customization considerations, as well as prospects for global enhancements. But with that, I am excited to share RiskVault. In short, it's a centralized and collaborative platform tailored to support and streamline all aspects of operational management. So how does the platform function like that and where's the value? Essentially, it brings all facets of project management and maintenance into one succinct place. So from project timelines, documentary disclosures and maintenance, form and survey tool components, plans and resource libraries, it's a one-stop shop, which ultimately optimizes management and collaboration at various capacities. How did we achieve this? Essentially, RiskVault is a flexible system that varies in application based upon how the end user is utilizing the system and the purpose in which they're utilizing the system. A bit of backdrop, the platform was initially designed for solely security programming, but as we went on, it became very apparent that it has a real translatable use for any corporate entity, for-profit, non-for-profit organization. And I think you'll see the real value in that as we step through the webinar and share examples along the way. So jumping in, just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. This is the disclaimer for the webinar series. In short, the presentation's intended to be for general education and information purposes. Nothing we share is the opinion or position of Bonadio. And lastly, just note that sessions may be recorded and published without further notice. So a little bit of table setting before we start. First, we are going to provide a quick rundown about Petrone Risk, who we are, as it is the real impetus of how the platform was developed. Provide a brief overview of RiskVault's features and capabilities, and then step through 2 use cases, which will really highlight the flexible nature of the system and the value of that. So the 2 main functionalities and use cases that we'll focus on are the exchange and maintenance of information and documentation, and then secondarily, the form and survey tool. Before we dive in, I just want to share what the platform is delivered with at the outset. As you'll hear me speak about these credentials, they're really the cornerstone of the flexible nature that provides value to the organizations utilizing RiskVault and the capacity in which it functions. So there's admin user credentials, project user credentials, and view-only credentials. Again, this supports the flexible nature, and they're all customized based on organizational needs and how they're utilizing the platform. Okay, so starting with a bit about Petrone Risk. We are safety, security, and emergency preparedness risk management firm. We've been in the industry over a decade, and we provide a range of services from emergency operation plans, standard operating procedures, business continuity plans, PIO manuals, training facilitation and creation, tabletop exercise support and facilitation, on-site assessments, Safety Act application support, and general consulting services. Our clientele is a real diverse group, and I think that this is the poignant portion of RiskVault that makes that differentiating factor for users. We provide services for organizations such as professional athletic leagues, venues, teams, the education sector, commercial facilities, healthcare sector, mass gathering venues, and security technology vendors, which you'll see a sampling of up on the screen. Again, the value in this diverse group is what really drove the development and was the true impetus for the development of RiskVault. This clientele group provides us a different perspective and exposure as to the industry, what works, what doesn't work, where there's gaps that we saw we could really fill a meaningful void at the end of the day and enhance our clientele security posture and backdrop. So essentially, RiskVault was designed, created to respond and fill the void and gap that existed in the security and emergency preparedness industry. Okay, so now transitioning to a brief overview of the features and capabilities of Risk Vault. Again, you'll see them in context play out as we step through the use cases and the value it provides end users at the end of the day, having all of these components housed in one place. So the two key functions, again, this is what the use cases will be focused around, are the exchange and maintenance of information and documentation, and then secondarily, the form and survey tool component. The five core features that support those main functionalities in segmented projects, which we'll speak about as we step through the use cases, are the timeline feature, document management and exchange, plan and resource library, form and survey tool developer, and the reporting tool. Again, you'll see how these vary in application based on how the end user's utilizing the system at any given point in time. Supporting all aspects of any type of program management from start to finish and then maintenance thereafter. Risk Vault is compatible on all devices, which is truly invaluable from our standpoint, as we all know how our lives are on the go constantly, accessibility during emergency circumstances, or just general needs. Having that backdrop to be able to pull it from whether it be your phone, iPad, or desktop computer provides value to our end users as well. Certain features are also available offline, so there's never a concern about loss of data or inaccessible data because Risk Vault provides that backdrop to support end users in that capacity. Okay, so now transitioning to the use case, this will be provided through the lens of an audit program. Again, there's a real translatable use based on end user needs and how they could utilize the platform at any given time. So whether it be a singular entity utilizing it for day-to-day security programming, that is an existing capability, as well as organizational oversight and central management oversight. So whether we're speaking to a school district and school buildings, a healthcare system and its facilities, a league and its teams, Risk Vault is built to support those various uses. Petrone Risk also provides enhanced services to our client base through the platform, and that same translatability exists for end users to use it in that same capacity as well. Again, this first use case will focus on the exchange and maintenance of documentation and information. So jump in with any questions or thoughts as we go along. So what streamlining looks like in Risk Vault? Essentially, all components, as I mentioned at the outset, are housed in one singular place. Again, this example is an audit program under the auspice of central management oversight. So how does Risk Vault support that? Each line item you'll see on the screen is a segmented system project with access controls specifically tied to it. Going to the user credentials I spoke about at the beginning, the admin users will have access to all of the segmented projects, whereas project users will have limited access to only those segmented projects to which they're assigned. When we're speaking about visibility, project users also are only able to view the segmented projects which they're assigned to, whereas the admin user can view and oversee the totality of any given project. The five core features that we spoke about can be consistently delivered across all of these segmented projects. They can be tailored within the scope of each of those segmented projects, or they could be completely specific and nuanced as it relates to a specific segmented system project. So if we're talking examples, a school district could deliver this platform and that capacity to all of the school buildings within its district, a healthcare system, same thing, translatability to all the facilities, leagues, venues, and venues or singular organizations within the scope of their entities and what projects they're collaborating on from an internal standpoint. Okay, stepping through the five core features that I mentioned at the outset, the first being the timeline feature. Again, based upon how the end user is utilizing the system, there's varying examples as to how a user could rely upon this functionality. So an organization could delegate tasks internally. It could be utilized as a self-tracking mechanism. It could be utilized by central management as an oversight and delegation tool. The list goes on, and there's certainly no limited capacity into which these use cases can be translated to. From an admin user perspective, I will step through the specifications as to what you'll see on the screen, but essentially the admin user has the ability to pre-populate all of this information, go in and address nuances at any given time, as well as the project user has the ability to go in the system and create those tasks that are specific to the scope of their specific project. So first, you'll see the task column. This is the evolution of an audit program. So it steps through what the various tasks are associated with that. This second column is responsible party, and you'll see it's an entity name. So from a central management oversight perspective, the governing entity would be one responsible party, and then the specific facility, venue, location would be the other party that would be identified. The following column is responsible name. This is essentially a text box that appears, and individuals are permitted to text the specific individual within the organization that's responsible for that aspect of the project. This is a great internal delegation tool because it allows the project user level to delegate tasks that are essentially trickled down from central management oversight. And then the last columns you'll see are deadlines. So you'll see set, deadline, revised, and actual. In our world, in our experience, deadlines are always subject to change. So we wanted to incorporate a mechanism that responded to that and increased efficiencies from a project management standpoint. So the set deadline would be that initial agreed upon deadline. Again, understanding things are always subject to change. The revised would be an address whatever the updated timeline would be. And then the actual column is that layer of verification as to completed tasks that were either delegated or assigned to individuals within the scope of the project they're working in. Essentially, the intentionality was we're cutting out emails where you're going back and forth looking for the most up-to-date timeline. It's all housed in one place and directly connected to whatever project you're working on. On the other side of the screen, you will see what appears to look like an email. The platform also pushes out notifications directly from the platform, generated from the platform automatically. So typically it's set at 7 days in advance of a deadline and 1 day past due. These can be further customized to reflect whatever the end user's needs are in that regard. But having that task automated instead of having the project manager having to go in, make the email, update the email. Again, it's just a level of increased efficiencies that we thought would essentially optimize the end user's experience on the platform. What you can't see on the screen, but we'll get to in a few slides, is the reports that are connected to the platform and specifically the timeline. So all reports can be downloaded or previewed and download. They go to Excel, which enables you to save obviously the file and or print the file for HR purposes was a direction we saw our clients really wanting to go into. The next core feature is the document exchange and management feature. Again, sticking with the audit program and compliance, this would be reflective of the documentary disclosures that are required in connection with an audit program. Depending on use, as far as pre-populating those documents that governing oversight would be looking for, they can be pre-populated and delivered consistently across multiple segmented projects. They can be delivered consistently and then go back into a specific segmented project and address nuances, or they can be completely specific to a segmented project. So if you weren't working within the scope of an audit program and you had other projects you were collaborating on, it would reflect the project confines essentially. As far as specifications you'll see on the screen, we'll start with what looks to be the almost full red circle. So this essentially enables the end user to track manually their disclosures and completed disclosures with respect to required documents. So oftentimes with our client base, we found that there's more than one responsive document with respect to a specific request. So by including this feature in the platform, it allows the end user to say, okay, this is everything I have responsive to this request that's been provided. Again, it cuts out that additional step of sending the email, this is everything I have responsive, or when it gets lost in time or translation, a layer of verification to say, okay, this is everything we have. Then you will see the file name, and then the following column is a supplemental description column. This again is a text box that enables the end user, whether it be the project user or admin user, to communicate with respect to the specific file in question. So whether it's providing additional context, requesting clarification, providing additional examples, this translates into a mechanism of communication where both end users know exactly what file is being referenced, and the communication remains within the scope of the platform. Again, cutting out the additional step, whether it be through email, phone call, but also directly connecting it to the file in question. The following column is a sensitive content, and it appears to be a checkbox on the screen. So we included this mechanism to essentially enable all documentation and information to be shared and exchanged on the platform, but also provide that additional layer of protection and security in connection with files where it was necessary. So oftentimes when we're dealing with clients, we're exchanging whether it be financial or insurance information, and there's a level of sensitivity surrounding that. So by having this mechanism in place, the information and documentation can still exist with all the other documents and files necessary and applicable to that project, but exist in a manner which is protected without compromising security. Then you'll see the following columns. It identifies who uploaded, when it was uploaded. This provides that audit trail and additional layers of verification mechanisms that support project completion, project adherence to timelines, and then just general maintenance requirements as well. All documents can be drag and drop uploaded or file selected uploads on the system. And then you'll see the preview copy link and download considerations. So with respect to sharing and exchanging information, is that sometimes necessary outside of the scope of the platform? The copy link enables you to share and exchange information in that way with Risk Vault users. The download consideration is obviously download, you can save to your files. And then the preview consideration enables users to view it real time within the scope of the platform without having to download it, which if you're looking for on the go purposes, there's obviously a value to that to be able to not have to take that additional step as well. The next feature is the reporting tool. So the platform can run global and targeted reports within the scope of the system, and they're really tailored with respect to content by the level of credential user you are on the system. So with respect to global reports, it will run a report that shows everything in the system, and then more targeted reports with respect to document status, document added, folder status, timelines, forms, and filters by project, dates, responsible party, and form name. Obviously, with respect to project users, what their the content and information that's being flushed out within the scope of those reports is limited to their segmented projects, whereas the admin user has global access. All reports can be previewed, just like documents, and then when the information is downloaded in the reporting mechanism, it goes directly to Excel. The great value in that is it enables end users to manipulate the data. So whether it's analytics that you want to see flush out, Excel can support that capacity as well. Okay, the last feature of the first use case is the plan and resource library. Essentially, it has a dual functionality. It can serve as a plan and maintenance tool as well as a resource library. So from a plan and maintenance tool perspective, it obviously promotes ease and access of the most up-to-date version. but also provides state-created draft number version. So if you're collaborating on a plan, for example, you're able to push it back and forth and see the evolution of how a plan has evolved from inception to where you are at that point in time. But it also enables you to grab that most up-to-date version as well. From a resource library standpoint, obviously, it enables end users to store and maintain organizational policies, internal memos, plans, forms for use from an organizational standpoint. And the real value in this is the sharing mechanisms as well. So any of this information, documentation stored within this feature specifically, but also the document exchange feature as well, can be shared obviously directly through the platform. So you'll see the notification example on the screen. The end user controls the content of what goes into that notification, but essentially you can link the document that you're intending to share. But it can also be shared via link and QR code. With respect to the view only credentials that I mentioned at the upfront, this enables the end user to share relevant and important information temporarily. So those view only credentials are limited to viewing the document that's being exchanged in preview mode. So there's no concern with respect to downloading the document that you're exchanging, and their visibility is limited in time based upon when you revoke those access controls, which admin users can completely autonomously manage. Obviously, the uses of this feature are translatable for other internal uses. So again, whether it be exchange of internal memos or plans, exchange of documents with non-users, maintenance as a library, point of reference for organizational entities, there's a real value in, again, having everything housed in one place for just the purpose of increased efficiencies. Okay, so now transitioning to the second use case, which focuses on the form and survey tool. There's really a range of uses and applications with respect to this component of the platform. So whether it be for audit and assessment programs and connected compliance analytics, disclosure requests, for example, with corrective action items, databases for either employee contact information, accounting rosters, a venue ban list. This can support that, record keeping, logging, and just general surveys and questionnaires. Again, it's applicable to each segmented project, and forms can be published consistently across. They can be published consistently and then have nuances thereafter, or they can be completely specific to the segmented project that's being worked on. All of the forms and the example we'll step through can be shared again directly through the segmented projects, but they can also be shared via link or QR code with both users and non-users. There's no limit of the number of forms. Once a form is open, end users can work offline. So there's no fear of losing data should you lose internet connection briefly. And all forms can be saved and go back in and edit, which there's a real value to that given the level of data that some of our end users are seeking out at one time. Okay, so a sampling of the features, how it functions, and the supporting data and analytics, what that looks like when utilizing the platform in this capacity. So from an admin user perspective, admin users can create form templates, share, publish, disseminate forms, control and manage access control permissions, and create and edit forms, access to all completed forms, and access to all form data. Project users are able to complete and edit published forms, access their completed forms within their segmented project, retrieve data with respect to their completed forms as well. And then non-users, again, are able to complete and edit forms once they receive a link or QR code for purposes of completion. You'll also see on the screen a sampling of form development tools and options, which truly support the analytics and data output for our end users. Obviously, when creating a form, you're looking at and considering what specific analytics you want to measure and or what data you want to be obtaining. So for example, you'll see there's a yes, no, NA option. Obviously, the analytics associated with this, if it's an audit program, there's a value to that because it's going to reflect the levels of compliance with respect to an organization. a file/attachment upload option, whether it be proof of corrective action measures or additional images to support an answer. This is something that provides a real value to our clients. Real-time photos, again, if an audit is being conducted and you want to take an image of a shortcoming, it allows you to do it right within the scope of the system, and from there on. So essentially, how will the form and survey tool look and function by an end user? Just real briefly, the admin user will create the form and then publish it to a specific project or projects. They can share the link via QR code or, again, directly through a link to a user or non-user as well. Notifications will be sent through the platform when a form is published by an admin user, distributed to a user or non-user by the admin user, and completed by a user or non-user. Otherwise, it can be distributed as you see fit outside the scope of the platform. So whether it be QR code or link via email or text, the platform allows for that. Once received in progress, it can be completed all at once. You can go back in and edit the form as you go along. Again, there's a level of fluidity when we're talking about on-site audits. The volume of data requested may not be able to all be completed in one setting. This and also enables the end user to work offline without worrying about losing data. All the information is maintained and accessible, again, by admin users and project users within the scope of their segmented project. So whether it's viewing completed forms, viewing analytics, or year-over-year comparison in the lens of the audit program, this enables and supports the end user's evaluation of the audit program in the context it's being used. So lastly, for this use case is the data tracking, reporting, analytics, and maintenance functionality. So there are two mechanisms to support obtaining that data and viewing that data in various capacities. The first is the reporting tool, and the second is table view, both of which you'll see on the screen. So starting with the reporting tool, we spoke about this with respect to the first use case, but as it relates to this one, reports can be run again by admin users and project users and filtered by project, form name, dates. So this enables the end user to narrow the scope of what they're looking at. So if it's a year-over-year comparison as opposed to this year's analytics with respect to an audit program, that can be limited as to visibility. You'll see on the other side of the screen, it looks like a table view. So within each of the segmented projects, you can view an entirety of a form or multiple forms in this table view. You're able to click any of the boxes or rows on the screen, and it will pull you directly to the question on the form. This can be utilized to view the content of what's been provided thus far, but also it's a different mechanism and approach to complete forms as you're able to see the totality and scope, and it jumps right to the question as well. There's obviously a real ease and accessibility, whether it be for viewing data or ongoing form requests in this regard as well. Both also enable Excel download, CSV download, and preview capabilities as well. So with that, aside from streamlining, there's a number of other benefits that go along, whether it be security programming, regulatory management, having it all in one place and with a real level of ease and accessibility for the entirety of an organization or a sector of that is invaluable in and of itself, but all of these ancillary benefits that you'll see on the screen come along with it as well. So with that, any questions? All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. If there's any additional questions, please reach out via email. We're excited to be able to share this with you, and we really think at the end of the day, this will provide a value to the industry overall. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole.